to remain a boy. He wants you to remain a man. He wants you to remain dependent on him. He wants you to come looking to him for some kind of advice or some kind of teacher. No, you teach yourself and stand up for yourself and respect yourself and know yourself and defend yourself and be yourself. And you'll be recognized as an intelligent person.
White can help us, but they can't join us. There can be no black-white unity until there is first no black unity. We cannot think of being acceptable to others. We cannot first become an acceptance to ourselves. Concerning the Democrats, it is criminal to teach a man not to defend himself when he is the constant victim of brutal attacks. There are problems in the community. Some of those examples of those problems are the vices that destroy the moral fiber in our community. Drunkenness, drug addiction, prostitution, organized crime that robs the Negro community of probably 90% of its economic potential and moral potential.
Once you change your philosophy, you change your thought pattern. Once you change your thought pattern, you change your attitude. Once you change your attitude, it changes your behavior pattern. And then you go on into some action. As long as you got a sit-down philosophy, you'll have a sit-down thought pattern. And as long as you think those sit-down thoughts, you'll be in some kind of sit-down action. They'll have you sitting in everywhere. It's not so good to refer to what you're going to do as a sit-in. And right there castrates you. Right there it brings you down. What goes with it? Think of the image of someone sitting. An old woman can sit. An old man can sit. A chump can sit. A coward can sit. Anything can sit. Well, you and I have been sitting long enough, and it's time today for us to start doing some standing and some things we think that. I'm no politician. I'm not even a student of politics. I'm not a Republican, nor a Democrat, nor an American. And got sense enough to know. I'm one of the 22 million black victims of the Democrats. One of the 22 million black victims of the Republicans, and one of the 22 million black victims of Americanism. And when I speak, I don't speak as a Democrat or a Republican, nor an American. I speak as a victim of America's so-called democracy. You and I have never seen democracy. All we've seen is hypocrisy. When we open our eyes today and look around America, we see America not through the eyes of someone who has enjoyed the fruits of Americanism. We see America through the eyes of someone who has been the victim of Americanism. We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare. We haven't benefited from America's democracy. We've only suffered from America's hypocrisy. And the generation that's coming up now can see it. And I'm not afraid to say it. If you go to jail, so what? If you blink, you were born in jail. If you black, you were born in jail.
Because I think you believe in the God who created the universe, and that's the one we believe in, the one who created the universe. The only difference being, you call him God, and we call him Allah. Jews call him Jehovah. If you could understand Hebrew, you'd probably call him Jehovah too. If you could understand Arabic, you'd probably call him Allah. But since the white man, your friend, took your language away from you during slavery, the only language you know is his language, your friend's language. So you call for the same God he calls for. When he's putting a rope around your neck, you call for God, and he calls for God. And you wonder why the one you call on their answers.
The slave master took Tom and dressed him well and fed him well, and even gave him a little education. Gave him a long coat and a top hat, and made all the other slaves look up to him. Then he used Tom to control them. The same strategy that was used in those days is used today by the same white man. He take a Negro, so-called Negro, and make him prominent. Build him up, publicize him, make him a celebrity, and then he becomes a spokesman for Negro and a Negro leader.
Good day, family. Good day. It's good to see everybody. Yeah, you know, I've been thinking today. Yep, I sure have been thinking, and I want y'all to know. I want y'all to know that I didn't intend. It wasn't my intention to come out the bag like I did earlier. But I also want everybody to know you ain't gonna come up in here with no bullshit. Those that I love and that I'm on their side, you ain't finna come up in here speaking against them and stuff. You take that somewhere else. You take that somewhere else. Because that's like you talking about me to somebody else. No, I'm not finna do that. You ain't finna come up in here with all them muddy shoes on. Not up in here, not with me. Sure, not about Dr. Ray Hagen's. Ooh, no. No, this ain't the place for it. I'm here for one reason and one reason only. Yep. And if I don't resonate with a whole lot of folks, it's probably, I'm looking for the ones that's thinking like I am. That's kind of like, I don't think I want to go to heaven either with white folks. If that ain't you, then gone. Nobody ever knew about this. Let's just say we never even had these thoughts throughout the whole Black collective. So, half of you and stuff, you can go. Those of you that don't understand, that don't get me and stuff, because I'm not for everybody. I just don't want y'all to feel some type of way and stuff, because don't take it personally. Don't take it personally. You got a purpose to do and stuff. That's it. That's your purpose. That's what you're supposed to do. You ain't looking for friends and stuff. We're here to heal our people. You got to fit in somewhere. Everybody can't be here. Everybody ain't going to be here. Stop making this difficult and stuff, because it's not. What it is, we don't want to face the truth of what's really going on. What does all this really mean? That's what it is. And y'all already know I'm Face the Nation. We on Bolden Unchained. You know why we're here, for Black people. Black people in Black America, Black Africa. Yeah. I want to know what's going on with my people and stuff. I do not. With all my heart, soul, and my spirit. I don't think we're supposed to be in heaven with white folks. How? How are we going to be in heaven with white folks? For all the forgiveness that we know and accept, because we've been taught to forgive. We're the most forgiving people on this planet. Black people is. How are we supposed to be up there? How is that supposed to make sense? That's all you're supposed to do. You ain't supposed to be here ranking down on my jingles. No, I'm not going to let you do that. Not in my face. No, not me. Where is this copyright disclaimer? Because you know why we're here. We're looking through a spiritual vision now, right now. Spiritual lens, yep. I ain't religious. I ain't forgiving nobody. No, these are my thoughts, my opinions. Don't be trying to blame Dr. Ray Hagen or any of the others that I be using in my receipts. Don't be trying to blame nobody for how I'm saying what I'm saying. Why? You could have been did that. Why you gonna come here and do it? No, ain't finna be no swaying here. We just finna get the truth out of what's happening. If you feel like, yeah, I'm still going to heaven, then you should have been gone. You should have been gone. That's what this is about. You know if you want that healing personally, individually, for you. So, you got to make that decision. But no, you ain't finna drag me through. No, you ain't finna sit up in here with no muddy shoes on. No, not up in here, you ain't. You can move around. It's a whole big old kaleidoscope out there. Everybody out there and stuff. Everybody talking. Everybody trying to do this thing right here. Don't be trying to use me. Do not be trying to use me, because I'm not going to, no, I ain't going to take it well. I ain't giving no apology either. Because you do it again, I'm going to go there again. About any of them. Anybody. Any of them. Those that I love, black people that I love, I hold them up at the highest. I ain't never had no role models like this that's out here teaching, leading us, guiding us, inspiring us, and motivating us. I done found it now. Now everybody got something to say about it. But hey, they still agreeing with your ass to go to heaven. Yeah, so don't make me out to be, the bad one and stuff, because I ain't. I'm just trying to tell your ass what you should know for yourself. You the one been reading all this that know all this. But the copyright disclaimer, y'all got to get that out the way. Under 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair uses are used permitted by a copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Now, I already agreed that, Black America, you can keep your Bible. Let me give out some shout outs, because I'm finna get to the big screen right now. Good day, Joey. And hey, Tisha. It's so good seeing you, Kelvin. I came on because I remember that you said, yeah, hope to see you tonight. Thanks. So I was like, yeah, let me come on and go on through, because, I can't keep dodging, what I'm supposed to be reading and stuff and getting on through this. I can't keep dodging it and stuff, So I'm like, let me get on there and stuff and do what I got to do and stuff, because I still be, like, dang, for real. But it's what I'm supposed to be doing. So let me get my ass on here and do what I'm supposed to do. It's new. It's like with everything. You be like that at your new job till you get used to it. It might take a few days, might take a week or whatever. And I just want to say, to make it easier, well, considering if you have a job, because most jobs is leaving now. Yep, y'all, it's been like 1,500 people cut from the Department of Education. I think I'll find it somewhere amongst these notes and stuff. But yeah, but I'm just saying, if you think about your job, if you dream about your job, you'll be extra on it. Yep, I do it for every job I have. I ain't never, had my own business before, so I done had jobs, my whole life and stuff. But yeah, if you dream about your job, think about your job when you going to sleep, just think about it, what you got to do, and, the environment, the atmosphere of your job and stuff, and maybe the people that's there, the music, I don't know. Just conjure up, the setting of that new job you just started and stuff. And yeah, it'll ease you right on into it. Yeah, when you go back to work and stuff, honey, you'll be on it. I'm just saying, it worked for me and stuff. But yeah, so it's so good to see y'all. We with Hispanics went through worse shit in history. They just don't show it in school like they show you guys. I don't know. I'm talking about Black folks. Yep, I'm talking about Black folks. I know everybody done went through a whole bunch of shit. Who did it? Who did it to you? I'm glad you over here. But I'm about Black people over here. I can't do nothing for other folks and stuff. Dr. George Fraser said that Hispanics got to heal Hispanics. Yep, all I know is Black people and white people. That's all I've ever had any dealings with my whole life in that little bitty hick town. I ain't learned about none of this. I didn't know about this, but I ain't read nothing about Hispanics doing these things to Black people. But I just started learning, Joe. I just started learning, and I just got here in November, I think, and sat down, and I'm just easing my way to learn, my new journey. I'm on a new journey now for my people, for as long as it's going to last. We don't know when they're going to shut this off. So, I just want us to get this mindset before we don't even have this way to connect with each other. I just want us to get this different mindset. So when we don't be able to sit down and talk to each other and tell each other what's going on, and hey, I didn't know this, I didn't know it either. Before they cut all of that off, we need to have a different mindset. We need to be elevated a little bit. We need to be on course, with us and stuff. And Black people, our people are really striving out there, making changes and stuff. But it's got to go to depth of us, the depth, the deepness of us. It can't be on the surface anymore. We got to make sure we reach every last one of us, like that. Was that No Child Left Behind? It was something that was significant to what I'm trying to express. We just got to make sure we at least reach out to everyone and let everyone know. We got to start thinking for ourselves. Your thoughts not gonna be like mine. Mine's not gonna be like yours. My thoughts ain't like nobody's. But we think alike. We think alike. We got to just start thinking for ourselves, being able to analyze for ourselves. How could we have gone through our whole existence, our whole life? However old you are, I don't know. You can be on here from 18 plus. Under 18, I got it set against that and stuff. But your whole life and stuff, how could you live and not know about this? It's really detrimental that my people know. Who taught you to hate yourself? That's what Black media is out there doing. Everybody, every one of us within Black media is trying to get us to answer that same question. Who taught us to hate ourselves? I guess that's what I'm doing too, because I want us to heal. And in my opinion, for us to heal, we're going to have to answer these questions. We're going to have to look this in the face. I mean, when you go within, you got to go within for a reason. We can't be doing all this for nothing. We cannot be doing, I'm not doing all of this for nothing. If that's what you think. I'm not here to make you laugh and get you out where you can prove your point and stuff. I'm not here for that. I want you to seriously think about your life here now and afterlife. Your afterlife. What are you going to do with it? Where you going to spend it at? Yes. It's as real as this pit stop. This is just a pit stop. And then we transition. We transition. It ain't just heaven and hell. I'm serious. What are you going to do with it? We spend our whole life. We don't even question this book right here. Nothing about it. But it's serious. It's time we start asking these questions. I think it is. I think it is. Because now, me personally, Face, Daphne, I don't want to go to heaven with white folks. No, I don't. Me, I don't want to go to heaven with white folks forever and ever and ever and ever and ever more. No, I don't. Ain't nobody, all of this preaching that we do, we hold on to it and stuff. Our pastors ain't even out there fighting for us. Our pastors ain't even out there fighting for us to learn our true history. They ain't fighting for us on no area like they should. Pastors should be, telling the teachers and all of them, those in positions, what they need to be doing for us. No, they all done sold us out and stuff like they don't even care. Ain't nobody even mentioned to us. What can we do? That's it. We got to go to heaven or hell. Why? Why ain't nobody told us that it's a third side to that coin? Is that some other type of getting along to get along? You know what I'm saying? Keeping the peace. Is that what it is? Some other type of keeping the peace. But no, it don't work on me. It don't work on me. You need to know, Black America. You need to know. I wouldn't have had the thoughts about it and stuff if I hadn't been reading and learning and looking. No, it don't make no sense, though. You should know that. You should know it don't make no sense to go up in heaven. I know that's where you want to go and everything is so perfect and pristine and clean and stuff, but ain't no justice been served to your people, I'm saying. So see the mindset. You still can go to heaven. It's just not heaven. It's just not what white people told you. Go where you can be free and you can fly forever. You can go from the first, no, you don't want to go to the first universe. That's where heaven is. You can go to the second universe. If you do go to the first universe, just don't make sure they get your ass. Because they're going to clip your wings and throw you behind that gate. in heaven. I'm just saying, it's what I've been reading and stuff. I'm just telling you, you can fly back to the first universe. Maybe you want to fly back and save some of our people that went to the first universe. I don't know. I ain't going. I might fly all through the multiverse, but I ain't coming back to the first universe. No, I'm not flying to the first universe. I don't want to be with white people after this no more. That's just my opinion, That's just me. Yeah, I'm just telling it like it is. Yeah, and yeah, I hope that, all people heal their people. Get where you're supposed to be, because you're supposed to be where you need to be to heal your people. Yeah, we got to heal us. Uncle folk, you sit there if you want to and listen and hear the passion and stuff, but it ain't really for everybody and stuff. It's just for my people. I'm for my people. I ain't mean no harm to nobody and stuff, but yeah, I don't think you're gonna get much here. And we all supposed to heal ourselves. George Fraser said we're supposed to heal our people. I'm supposed to help heal black people. I'm supposed to tell black people we need to be having black babies. White folks had it right all along. White folks had it right all along. If you think about it like this, if we hadn't been procreating with white folks and stuff, and other folks, just let other folks procreate with them. But if we hadn't been doing our part with them, their numbers would be lesser than they are. Dr. Francis Cress Welsing said that. They the ones worried about their genetic survival, see? That's what they worried about. And now we need to be looking at our genetic survival, because our numbers is just slowly decreasing because of everything. That's how it is. That's how I see it. And it's our duty to have black babies. Who else gonna have black babies? Tell me any two people out of any two groups of people that could get together and have a black baby. I mean a black baby. Like the black man and the black woman birth and produce and Nobody. That's what we're supposed to do. So see, we need to have a different mindset. No matter where we end up at, what this gonna be like and stuff, after this, because we got 4 years. But I'm talking about another 4 years. But we got a whole 4 years. We just in 3 months of Trump. We just in 3 months of Trump. Ain't that some shit? It seemed like hell. We done been 3 years with his ass. And we just got to hold on for that last year. But yeah, this is just the 3rd month. And we got to evolve with it. We got to evolve our mindset. And to me, personally, stuff is religion. Religion is what's holding us back as a people. Religion is what's stopping us being able to think, to analyze, to critique our reality. I mean, y'all don't think about our reality and kind of can see where it's going, and the future and the afterlife after this right here. I do. All the time. I do all the time. So, it's a journey. And I feel like we need to be telling our people and stuff, because this is the end. I don't want y'all to end up hurt or nothing like that. And then our babies and stuff feel like they never did raise up and try to fight for us. Because we still, up under white folks, we still enslaved by their asses. We just ain't got no chain, no physical chains on. Hell, y'all ass act like it, because you act like you can't even live without white people. Sometimes I wonder, can black people even see their life? Can we see us again without white people in our life? Probably not. A lot of us probably can't do it. I just can't do it, face. I can't do it. You act like white folks just been like the best thing for us, and like they the only thing for us and stuff, and that's not even true. Whole life you've been made a fool and a dummy. They trying to make a fool and a dummy out of us. What they doing to our ancestors and stuff, everything my ancestors done went through, done endured. And it's just like, just blow it all away. Don't even matter. Shit, just blow it all away. We got some new plan. For who? Yeah, I don't agree with half of the stuff. Most of it. All of it is like anti-life to me anyway. But yeah, we reading the Lynchings in Duluth. This is the 2nd edition, and it's by Michael Fedo, Fedo. Yeah, we on chapter 12, y'all. We ain't got much longer and stuff. We're gonna make it. Oh, wow. That's actually how much we got to finish. And then the rest of it is just questions that we can ask at the end of it. See, we ain't even got much. All right, let's get ready then. Chapter 12, just before 11 p.m., the Reverend William Powers, pastor at Duluth Sacred Heart Cathedral, returned home from dinner at a parishioner's house. He had spent a pleasant evening regaling his host with stories and anecdotes about sports celebrities he had met. A great sports fan, the priest had once played semi-professional baseball in his hometown of Marquette, Michigan. F.R. Powers. I don't know what that is. F.R. Powers had quickly distinguished himself as an eloquent and powerful speaker. Thoroughly imbued with the scriptures, he also devoured the entire works of Shakespeare and frequently laced sermons and speeches with literary quotations. Other priests maintained he was the finest speaker ever to grace the Duluth diocese, like the church, I guess, Diocese. One of his favorite things was the obligations people had toward one another. The human family, he would reason, had certain obligations, just as they had blessings. And these obligations needed to be met with love, dignity, and grace, as God had given man the sense to meet those obligations. A robust, handsome man, standing just under 6 feet, he still carried the husky, broad-shouldered brawn of the athlete he had been. His physique, strength, and sense of fair play substantially contributed to the great rapport he enjoyed with young men and boys. Highly popular, former Powers had made many addresses at civic luncheons and banquets and was one of the city's best-known clergymen. Though Sacred Heart was located in the central neighborhood of Duluth at 2nd Avenue West and 4th Street, 8 blocks from the jail, former Powers had also heard rumors throughout the day about what might happen to the prisoners. And I ain't never been to Duluth. But I'm sure some people that's going to see this know exactly where this is at. Know exactly where that street is at, the church. See, that's the thing about it in these stories right here. They true. These are true places. These are true places that y'all living in. I'm living in. We all living in these places and stuff. We don't even know the stories behind them. And we got to know now. We must know now before we go any further. We need to know what may very well be they banning books now. Everything being erased. We need to know these things. At least we can pass them on like we used to do. By mouth, generation to generation. So we got to learn it to pass it on. You can learn it. I can learn it. We can all learn this. We got to. White folk just done made you dumb, done dumbed you down, thinking that you can't learn. Yeah, just be willing. Be open to it. Just unlearning everything that you thought was doing you some good. But because as a black person, most of it ain't. It ain't doing you no good. It ain't doing your people no good and stuff, Yeah, just give yourself permission. It's going to take time. It ain't going to happen overnight and stuff, I don't know what to do for you. I just know to get here and just give it to you. Don't be mad at me and stuff. Go and come back. So let's read. But he could not believe that the Duluthians could be so enraged as to mercilessly assail the fundamental principles of law and justice. As he reached the rectory that evening, an acquaintance was waiting. Father, we've got big trouble. A mob is out to lynch the blacks. They've broken into the jail already and won't listen to anybody. Maybe you could talk some sense into them before those black fellas get killed. Former Powers, he's a reverend. I'm just going to call him. Reverend Powers leaped into the ready car and the two sped down the hill toward the jail. Most activity was centering on 1st Street then. And when the car was stalled at 3rd Avenue East and 1st Street by the masses in the street, Reverend Powers jumped out and ran toward the Shrine Auditorium. Meanwhile, another Duluth priest, P.J. Maloney, also arrived at the scene and was working his way through the crowd, talking to young men, hoping to convince them to stop and go home. Reverend Maloney was born in Dunn County, D-U-N, Dunn County, Limerick, and received most of his education in Ireland. He was ordained at St. Paul's Seminary, a solid block of a man, standing a shade over 6 feet and weighing 255 pounds. Reverend Maloney fit the stereotype of the Irish priest in America. Jolly, good-natured, he was also noted for his compassion. The sick and elderly found a ready listener and sympathizer in Reverend Maloney. Though not an orator of Reverend Maloney's magnitude, though not an orator of Reverend Power's magnitude, Reverend Maloney was widely known throughout the city and in much of northern Minnesota, where he had served parishes for over 30 years. He made no public pronouncements at the scene, but instead moved within the mob. And when he recognized the boy he knew, Reverend Maloney approached him saying, "You've no business here, boy. Go on to your home now. This is no place for a good Catholic young fellow." Now and then, one might have heeded, and the priest kept on. "This is terribly wrong, boys. In the name of God, stop it. You'll be sorry for the rest of your lives." One young man, however, sneered, "Stay out of this, Father. This has nothing to do with God." By now, the quivering, battered Isaac McGee was thrust forward toward the light pole. He stumbled and was kicked savagely. He rolled open, his mouth open, and was snatched up. The rope was lowered over his neck. Women and young matrons cheered and laughed at the crude wit of some of the youthful onlookers who sang and joked about it. "See what you're coming to. Now hang gracefully. Show us some real style. The less you kick, the less you'll hurt." An intense rush of adrenaline propelled Reverend Powers, and with his sturdy hands, he tossed aside several men as he scrambled toward the pole. Those holding McGee stood back as the red-faced priest stormed forward, not merely to confront those with McGee. Reverend Powers climbed the pole himself. The mob fell uneasily quiet, preparing to listen to the priest. "We're wasting time," someone hollered out, but was in turn silenced by those around him. Men, you don't know this man is guilty," Reverend Powers began, his voice carrying distinctly over the murmuring of the crowd. Sweat glistened in his dark curly hair and had begun to run down his face, forming droplets on his nose and chin. "I know this crime is the most horrible one," he continued, "but let the law take its course." Some in the crowd booed, but they quieted when Powers held up his hand. "It's not too late to stop this tragedy, men. In the name of God and the church I represent, I ask you to stop." There was a momentary silence before several men cried, "To hell with the law!" "Lynch him!" screamed scores of others. "Remember the girl!" Several men near the pole reached up and pulled Reverend Powers down, but he tried to mount it again. "Men, I ask you." This time the priest was rudely interrupted with cries of, "Lynch him! String him up! The dirty black snakes!" And Reverend Powers was topped over once more and pushed back within the mob. He made one more futile attempt to reach McGee as the young man was pulled to the pole again. McGee had seemed dazed moments before during Reverend Powers' attempt to save him, but he was fully conscious now. As the noose was adjusted around his neck, he shrieked, "God be with me. I'm not the right man." He was hoisted to his feet, and the rope was drawn up, but he fell when the rope loosened. A thin, short man near him tried choking McGee, but was pulled back as the rope was refastened, and McGee was lifted up a few feet off the ground, just clear of the pavement. The crowd had pressed so close that as McGee grasped in his death agony, blood drawn from his parted lips spattered on the faces of those near him. "String him up so we can see," demanded the mob. But the rope was too short and the body could be raised only a few inches more. And now a new rope was run to the pole. carried over the head of a youth in a green shirt. He was grinning and accepted the cheers of the mob. Then 19-year-old Elmer Jackson was dragged to the pole. One of the men near the pole wore the uniform of the U.S. Navy and stepped forward when one in the mob called, "Let the sailor tie the knot." The sailor grinned awkwardly, then quickly fastened a noose about Jackson's neck. Jackson, however, did not struggle. His face was calm and without emotion as he gazed at the rope taut above his head. He stared out at the mob, and as he was positioned a bit to the right of McGee's dangling body, he drew a pair of dice from his pocket and faced the mob. "I won't need these anymore in the world," he stated evenly, and threw them on the pavement. A young man picked them up and offered them back to Jackson. "Well, you might want to roll them in the necks," he said. The noose was cinched about his neck, and a cluster of ready hands drew his body up. As he went into dying convulsions, the crowd began to cheer and whistle. And as he died, his body was lowered a few feet where it hung before the howling mob. The remaining blacks continued to be questioned in the cell. Those interrogating them, however, seemed to lose their stomachs for the affair, and several left the cell and filtered back through the still crowded cell room and front office. Their places were taken by others eager for revenge, and the intense but disorganized questioning went on. 2 were dead, but there were 4 more. There were 6 of them. Chapter 13. 11:30 p.m. Tuesday, June the 15th, 1920. Chief Murphy's car neared the fire station, where he abandoned it after being warned by Farrell that cars belonging to police were in danger of being demolished by the mob. From 6th Avenue West and 1st Street, the officers could hear the mob. They began jogging east on 1st Street to 1st Avenue West, then down to Superior Street and on to the station, where over 1,000 people still clustered around the headquarters or were packed inside. The officers tried to get in, but the crowd kept them back. "Disperse! Get out of here," Murphy ordered. "We'll get every nigger convicted that's implicated. I promise you that." "Let us in," Fiskett shouted. "We're police officers. Get the hell out of here, or we'll get you too," a man yelled at the captain. Then, with Schultz and Murphy pushing Fiskett in as far as he could penetrate through the front door, a group within the mob turned and shoved back until the 3 were outside again. "Let's get out of here where we can get the militia," Murphy shouted. And the police managed to get inside City Hall next door. But since no phones was working, they left the building and began rounding up all the police officers in the vicinity. As they were accomplishing this, the 3rd black, 19-year-old Elias Clayton, was given to the mob and brought to 2nd Avenue East, to the same pole that held the bodies of McGee and Jackson. Clayton's eyes widened with horror as he saw the bodies. "Please, oh God, don't kill me. I'm innocent." Though his cries was lost as the mob jammed around the pole, they apparently had some effect on the men holding him. They paused and looked at each other and seemed to be contemplating what they had already done. None seemed willing to make a decision, but the mob made it for him. "List the third one! List the third one!" As 3 burly men forced Clayton through the crush of the crowd, several struck him, but the doomed man made no effort to avoid their blows. The noose was already set, and 2 men waited as Clayton was shoved towards them. He again pleaded for his life, but was silenced by a punch in the mouth. A knot was secured around his neck, and he was rapidly drawn up the pole, high above the mob. As he was pulled aloft, he raised his hands heavenward in a gesture of supplication before convulsing in his choking spasms. Then, like the other two, he twitched slowly. He twitched slowly, sporadically, and was still. As he died, a man positioned high up on the pole kicked repeatedly at Clayton's face and head, and before he descended, tied the rope to one of the pole spikes so the body would remain in place. Then, near the ground, the man was cheered, and many clapped him on the back or shook his hand. As the mob stood gazing at the bodies, someone yelled, "Throw a little light on the subject." A large auto was driven toward the pole, and its searchlight was turned on Clayton, who was positioned highest on the pole. Blood still dripped from his mouth and nose and formed great crimson smears over his bared chest. The mob stood silently for a few moments, apparently waiting to see if any others would be brought out for hanging. They wouldn't even. Several suggested that the photographer get some photos, and Clayton's body was dropped to the ground to be within photographic range. A number of men formed a half circle around the pole and the bodies, and Ralph Greenspun, a photographer from Superior, Wisconsin, took several shots while the mob patiently posed, a few smirking and joking about it. "Send them pictures to Alabama," someone said. Tell them to keep their niggers." In a few days, postcards with the lynching picture were printed and quickly sold out at various retail outlets in Duluth. After Clayton had been hanged, Major Beecher found Chief Murphy and explained who he was and how he felt the situation should be handled. The chief agreed and assigned 12 men to the major and told them to take orders from Beecher. Then Murphy directed other officers to start throwing out the few stragglers who remained in the demolished station. Beecher and his men found rifles of U.S. model 1873 caliber 45 to 70 Springfields with fixed bayonets and issued them to men on duty. He then ordered the men to form a line around the station on 2nd Avenue East and ordered them to permit no forming into crowds. With other officers, Beecher ran down Superior Street to 1st Avenue East, breaking up all the gatherings and moving people away from the station. As the crowds dispersed at the sight of the armed police, Beecher made another call to General Rhino, Rhinow. The major was instructed to call out the home guards and get in touch with the commanding officer at the tank company and to order that unit on immediate duty. Beecher called Captain Mort before going home to change into his military uniform. The major was not surprised at the ease with which the mob was broken up. In his own mind, he felt that 25 men prepared to use weapons could have easily prevented violence and saved the lives of the 3 victims. The chief, in the meantime, took a badly dented police car and spirited the 3 remaining prisoners across the bay to Superior, where they would spend the rest of the night in that city's jail. Chapter 14, 12:30 a.m. Wednesday, June the 16th, 1920, Captain Mort, having just received mobilization orders, was able to order his men to immediate duty because he had the foresight to tell the troops to stand by. Within minutes, 104 men converged on the downtown streets, though by now there was little to do except chase loiterers. Minnesota Governor J.A.A. Burnquist had been delivering a commencement address at his alma mater, M-A-T-R, alma mater, or whatever it is, Carleton College in Northfield, the night of June the 15th. He had graduated with honors there in 1902. The governor had been first elected to the state's House of Representatives in 1908. Then he was elected lieutenant governor as a Republican in 1914, assuming the governor's office in 1915 upon the death of Democratic Governor Winfield S. Hammond. A popular official, Burnquist won re-election in 1916 and 1918. Ironically, since 1916, he also served as president of the St. Paul branch of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Upon notification of the lynchings in Duluth, Burnquist arranged to dispatch troops to that city about 1:30 a.m. and ordered a train held in St. Paul for troop movement. By 2:30 a.m., 124 men and 6 officers equipped for riot duty, in addition to a 4-man medical unit, lined up on Sibley Street in St. Paul in the bleak dark and boarded Northern Pacific train number 66 to Duluth. The train had added 2 special coaches to accommodate the men and their accompanying ammunition. There were several thousand rounds of ball rifle ammunition and 2,000 rounds of pistol cartridges. By that time, too, mopping up operations was well underway in downtown Duluth, headed by 35 police officers. They arrived on the scene near the Shrine Auditorium and ran off about 100 onlookers, while the bodies of Clayton, Jackson, and McGee twisted in the wind. The hangman's ropes creaked over the steel pole, the only sound except for the scraping of paper blowing over concrete. The bodies were carefully, almost reverently, cut down as though officers felt they were perhaps making up for their dereliction of duty earlier by treating the corpses with respect. The bodies were removed to the Grady and Horgan funeral parlor for examination and processing, but under anonymous threats that company deferred, and the bodies were eventually sent to the Crawford mortuary. Because of that mortuary's willingness to arrange burial, most funerals of Black Duluthians after that would be awarded to Crawfords. I don't know if Crawfords is still handling Black funerals, but that's why, if they are. And thank you, Crawford's funeral. I don't know if they even still. Further patrolling of downtown streets continued with the added force of the tank company. By 2:45 a.m., peace had returned. An uneasy quiet covered the homes of Duluth's Black residents, most of whom were aware that lynchings had occurred. Rumors had spread throughout the scattered Black community that all Duluth Blacks might be lynched. And when the doorbell rang at 619 North 5th Street at 2:05 a.m., it carried a joke, breaking the funereal silence, Funereal, funereal silence. Eddie Nichols almost panicked and leaped to his feet. The bell sounded again, and Rodney and his wife looked at Nichols. The young man reached for his pistol and cocked it. He pulled on an ankle-length overcoat, keeping the loaded weapon in his right hand under the coat. As the bell repeated a third time, Nichols took a deep breath, felt his sweating, trembling fingers tense around the trigger, and tiptoed to the door. He cracked it open several inches and slid the pistol forward. He was ready to fire. On the steps outside stood a lone white man who stepped back when the door opened. "To telegram for Mr. Rodney," he stammered, thrusting a yellow paper toward the door. Nichols breathed deeply and exhaled. "You don't know how close you came to being a dead man," he coldly answered to the messenger. Without a word, the deliverer backed off the porch and fled. The telegram was from the state militia offering full protection for Duluth Blacks and asking if the Rodney House might be maintained as guard headquarters. While the household welcomed protection, Rodney sensed that the days ahead would be trying ones for the city's Blacks, and he was not prepared to let white people into his house. He refused the request. Most Duluth Blacks agreed with his decision. If the strength of the mob, which had grown to include nearly 1/10 of the local population, could so easily overpower police, what would happen to the relatively isolated Blacks once the National Guard poured out, as it surely would? Days might be bleak indeed for any Duluth Black who harbored the militia in his house. Days might be bleak indeed for any Duluth Black who harbored the militia in his house. Stop biting me. Go to bed. Chapter 15. During the 3 days following the lynchings, while many Duluthians still debated the pros and cons of the crimes, a nation was reenacting the horror of June the 15th. The renowned poet James Weldon Johnson, he wrote our theme song, Lift Every Voice. James Weldon Johnson. The renowned poet James Weldon Johnson, in his capacity as field secretary of the NAACP, sent a telegram to Governor Burnquist the morning of June 16th. The National Association for the Advancement of Colored People offers all possible assistance in apprehending murderers who battered down door of jail at Duluth last night and lynched 3 Negroes accused of connections with attack on girl. Prompt apprehension and rigorous punishment for lynchers of Negroes and the law of the state of Minnesota will have wholesome and salutary effect throughout the nation. As governor of state and president of St. Paul branch of NAACP, may we urge you, use every power at your command to prevent further disorder and arrest lynchers. Commend action in sending troops. Advise us if we can be of assistance. Can furnish investigator if needed. But they knew who these people was. Although Governor Burnquist did not request an investigator from the national office, the St. Paul branch, through local attorney William Francis, hired the employer's detective service to mount a private investigation into the lynchings and the events leading up to them. The subsequent investigation would uncover a number of pertinent points that, for unexplained reasons, never found their way into court. Perhaps lack of communications played a role here, or, as has been implied, petty jealousies arose among lawyers hired to defend Black people accused of raping Irene Tusken, Tusken. Within the week, most major newspapers in the country had editorialized concerning the lynchings. The Duluth News Tribune comments were directed at the lack of police fortitude. It was a case where the right man was not there. Few would have dared face a gun held by a man who meant business. No one would have acted, save mob support. Duluth has now joined the American cities which have discovered how easily the safeguards of civilized justice can be leaped, observed the June 17th Chicago Tribune. In the Duluth lynching, motives of sex protection and race instinct were combined. All America has in this new lynching a cause for gravest reflection. The mob heard appeals to let the law take its course. Its members did not heed those appeals because they themselves wanted to kill. Like I said, white folks, right here, they waited a year after Tulsa, 1919. Isaac Neal was lynched in 1920. They waited a year, June the 15th. June the 15th, 1920. They waited a year. It's like they had to. It was gnawing at them. And the way they showed up and showed out, 10,000 right here. But wherever I would have been at, I could have been in another state. I could have been somewhere else. It still would have been one of these. Wherever you at, my sister, my brother. What crimes have happened there? What lynchings done happened there? What's done happened to our people where you are? Because there ain't nothing being made up for it here. Ain't no justice where I'm at. Ain't no justice. Ain't just a cover up. Just, yeah, it's over. It's done with it. Shh. Just a bunch of whispering about it. No, ain't nobody even whispering. Ain't nobody even talking about none of this. What about where you live there? I wonder, is it even, any part of this soil on this planet in America, right here in America, that's not saturated with our blood, with our ancestors' blood? These trees that they cutting down now, these trees got so much blood on them over the years, the centuries. In the New York World noted, like every other town similarly situated, Duluth's repentance will hardly be considered genuine unless its public opinion is powerful enough to inflict upon every recreant officer the prescribed penalty for his shameful betrayal of duty. That's all. And the June 19th edition of the New York Times held that no valid or even colorable claim on behalf of Duluth can be based on the fact that 3 of the 6 Negroes were spared by the executors of wild justice. In that city and state, there can be no pretense that the white population is under any general menace from a black majority. The editorial further commented that the mob violence is never justifiable and is always disgraceful to those who participate in it and to those who permit it. Oh, so what? Now it seems like they're trying to excuse it. Yeah, it seems like now ain't nobody finna be held accountable. It's just where it seemed like it to me. It's a whole lot of talking here about it. But let's read. But editorial writers from the other newspapers were not in Duluth that night. They had not experienced the tension in the mob. They wrote from comfortable chairs hundreds of miles away. Many Duluthians still disagreed with mounting criticism of local police. What should the cops have done, people asked. Fire right into their own kind? Yeah! That question had been somewhat answered earlier in the year when the Kentucky National Guard protected William Lockett, a black and self-confessed slayer of Geneva Mardigan, Mardigan, a 10-year-old white girl, fired on a mob that stormed the Lexington courthouse to lynch him. 4 whites in that mob had been killed, but the National Guard prevailed because its officers were determined to carry out their obligations. Few newspapers, however, took a hard look at the alleged crime which precipitated the lynchings. Among them, only one, a short-lived muckraking local weekly, Muckraking, a short-lived muckraking local weekly, the Duluth Ripsaw, raised a disturbing question in its June 19th edition. What puzzles thinking and sophisticated people is the allegation that a tender young girl was raped 6 times by 6 big burly Negroes and was able to ride home in a streetcar and said nothing to her parents about her terrible treatment. That's probably why that newspaper was short-lived. Because, oh yeah, we got to get rid of them. I mean, I'm just saying. It just seemed like it. But that racial hatred figured prominently in the crime was the focus of an editorial entitled "The Duluth Disgrace" in the Minneapolis Journal on June 17th. The paper stated, "It was the color of the 3 prisoners that made them victims of the mob. Had they been white, they might have been the objects of reprobation for the crime for which they were charged, but would have no doubt have been left to the processes of the law." Though scores of papers nationally expressed concern over the flouting of the law, lynchers were not without editorial support, at least in Minnesota. The June 16 headline in the Mankato, Minnesota, Daily Free Press, for instance, emblazoned, "Black Hawks swarm from pole." The following day, this paper editorialized a column entitled "The Duluth Tragedy." The people of Duluth appear to express a greater amount of indignation over the lynching of 3 Negroes, sick, I guess that's what sick means, in that city than they do over the terrible outrage that caused the stringing up of the Black Friends. The city of Duluth is not disgraced. There have been other lynchings in other cities and towns survived. Lynch law is to be deplored, but the crime which led up to the rule of the mob is more deplorable. And it must be understood that white men of blood, will not sit idly by when black rascals pounce like fiends on white women. In such instances, the anger of the mob knows no restraint. They are apt to avenge foul deeds. Mad dogs are shot dead without ceremony. Beasts in human shape are entitled to but scant consideration. That's how y'all still feel, Minnesota? Is that how y'all still feel about us? All this time. For all the love. The Eli Minor. All of y'all, yeah, my daddy and them had a newspaper in Minnesota. What did they say? What did all of them say? The Eli Minor, an Iron Range weekly. also showed strong mob sympathies in its June 18th editorial. Everybody sympathized with the mob. The happenings in Duluth on Tuesday when 3 Negroes, and everybody doing this sick, SIC, what? Is that what they doing? The happenings in Duluth on Tuesday when 3 Negroes were made victims of lynch law is to be regretted by all lovers of law and order. Let me read that again. The happenings in Duluth on Tuesday when 3 Negroes were made victims of lynch law is to be regretted by all lovers of law and order. The crime for which the men were lynched was one of the most fiendish ever perpetrated in this county, and we have had some bad ones. After all the shit white men done did to black women, that's your reason to unleash all of this cannibalistic rage. I know it ain't going nowhere. I know that rage in y'all ass ain't going nowhere. You better tell my people the truth. You need to tell my people the truth about yourself. That's what you need to do, white folks. Those who gathered to mete out justice did so without the added impetus of the skin full of booze. Oh, they wasn't drunk. They wasn't drunk. None of them was. No, the consensus of opinion throughout the county is that while the thing was wrong in principle, it is most effective, and those who were put out of their criminal existence by the mob will not assault any more young girls. The mob is not as bloodthirsty as may be imagined. Had they been such, and had the race hatred spoken of predominated, the other 3 held in the jail would have met a like fate. As we said before, the lynching is to be deplored. There were fathers, brothers, husbands, sons concerned in the affair. Suppose it was your daughter, sister, wife, or mother. What would you do? The next week, in a follow-up item, the minor observed the lynching in Duluth will have a wholesome effect on in the county will be tolerated hereafter. In the aftermath of criticism, most Duluthians assumed an impassive posture toward the lynchings, feeling it was best not to discuss it further, because they motherfucking asses done went to the lynchings. Your motherfucking asses, your grandmama, your great-grandmama, whoever the fuck your family was then, their asses was down there at the goddamn lynchings. That's what they were doing. Then after the lynchings, everybody, most of their asses, we're going to sympathize with the mob and stuff. Let's give the mob their justification. They had to do it. They had a reason to do it. But then the other common people, we were just there and we just not going to talk about it. They talked about it with themselves, though. You best believe them families know exactly what Isaac and them went through. They know exactly what they went through. This ain't the only book. These books, I'm sure it's other writers that done wrote these books. They got different accounts to them. It's a lot. It is a lot. In the aftermath of criticism, most Duluthians assumed an impassive posture toward the lynchings, feeling it was best not to discuss it further. This was not an attitude sustained by some city clergymen, causing no little consternation within various congregations. Ministers like Dr. George Brewer, B-R-E-W-R, pastor of the First Presbyterian Church, believed that the pulpit must serve as a public conscience, reminding people that the lynching was not only contrary to man's law, but violated the higher law of God as well. White people ain't got no conscience. We just learned that from Dr. Ray Hagens. White folks ain't even got no conscience. What this is we seeing today, that's supposed to be their conscience, their intellect, I don't see none. I don't see none. They own. That one lady that was in the town hall. White folks let them drag that woman out. She tried to hook her legs around the the leg of the bench or whatever that man was sitting on, the other people sitting on and stuff. I think it was a bench because they was at a meeting and stuff. They dragged her right on out. How far would it have gone if it was a black woman, a black man? You know, I'm just saying. For all the love, all the motherfucking love. And black folks believe it. Black folks believe it. We need it from them. Ministers like Dr. George Brewer, pastor of the First Presbyterian Church, believe that the pulpit must serve as a public conscience for white folks, reminding people, white people, that the lynching was not only contrary to man's law, but violated the higher law of God as well. A native, they ain't said nothing about their families. They ain't said nothing about their families. A native of Kingston, Ontario, Dr. Brewer had lived in the United States for 30 years and received his education at Princeton Theological Seminary. Oh, is that the Bible school? He had served the Duluth congregation since 1916. At the time of the lynching, Dr. Brewer was in the process of terminating his service in Duluth and preparing to move to Grosse Pointe, Michigan. The lynching supplied the text for one of his sermons the following Sunday. Why this crime and why these lynchings was the title of a widely reprinted message in which Dr. Brewer asserted that white Americans were largely to blame for the substandard plight of black people. On June 16, he was quoted in the News Tribune. I am appalled at the situation Duluth finds herself in today. She is humiliated among law-abiding, order-loving cities of our land. No defense can be made for the work of this mob. We ain't seen no arrest. A Duluth priest, maybe we will. The Reverend O.W. Ryan said, we are all humiliated by the disgraceful violence of the mob. We feel the police fail lamentably in their duty. It is not good policy for guardians of the public to shoot in general, but here was plenty of warning. Here was the dignity of the law to be upheld. Here was the opportunity to quell any unrestraining violence which might break forth at any time. Even as the city's clergy reminded Duluthians that a horrible wrong had been committed, and those involved as participants or bystanders had erred with enormity, the business of returning the city to normal continued. Like nothing happened. Just ain't nothing. It's over with. It's done with now. We go back to business as usual. National Guardsmen patrol black neighborhoods, and civic leaders map other strategies for coping with potential future outbreaks. A communique, COMMUNIQUE, was issued by Green's office declaring that none of the blacks involved in the assault was from the city. Green hoped this might quiet rising animosities among whites who now viewed blacks with open fear and hatred. Now they motherfucking ass scared. Now your punk ass is scared. Chapter 16, 7:30 a.m. Wednesday, June 16, 1920. Troops from Company H from Faribault and Company I from Long Prairie arrived at the downtown Duluth Railroad Station. As the city began coming to life, it was a slow, thick awakening after a nightmare. The downtown streets were quiet, though debris and litter clogged curbside gutters and sewers. Major Beecher, who had met the train, conferred with General Rhino and escorted troops to Superior Street and over to the shambles that had been the police station. Almost every window was smashed. Water still ran over the front sidewalk. The whistling of wind through the paneless windows of the station gave a ghost-like quality to the nearly deserted street. Inside the jail were hammers and iron pinchers, remains of the attack. They hadn't cleaned it up or nothing. Stuck fast in a barber cell door was a first-class machinist saw blade. The walls, inside and out, were brick-popped, and loose plaster and chips of paint had clumped together in moist heaps on the floor. Far over the gaping windows of the demolished station, the American flag fluttered gently in the morning breeze. The militia swung into precise action, mapping out areas of the cities where blacks lived. 2 guardsmen were dispatched to patrol every block in Duluth where black people resided. Ain't nobody still winning arrested. No motherfucker. General Rhino met with Sheriff Maggie, who had meanwhile deputized several hundred local citizens who had been outraged by the lynchings. These men had been assigned to guard the county jail. By 8:15 a.m., many Duluthians on their way to work paused to look at the station, then walked to the lynch site. Many may have hoped for souvenirs, and some picked scraps of broken glass or splinters of wood from in front of the station. Just they got to get a souvenir. Outside the Shrine Auditorium, it was pointed out to thousands where the bodies had fallen and that the rope had been thrown here. Troops moved the curious farther back from both the lynch site and the police station, and citizens did not argue with the armed soldiers. A small naval unit was also placed under General Rhino's command, and it conducted an impressive weapons demonstration that evening, revealing strength that would discourage the foolhardy. But rumors of more attacks and lynchings continued throughout the day in Duluth, and black families still received anonymous threats by early morning phone calls and pre-dawn bricks thrown through windows. By 9 a.m., General Rhino headed out with several truckloads of guardsmen to a remote spot on Vermilion Road where he met 2 heavily armed automobile parties who had kept guard throughout the night over the 4 blacks brought from Virginia by car. Quietly, these prisoners were brought into town, and a quick run was made to the county jail. Few residents was aware of this transfer. Then a similar dash was made from Superior with the 3 blacks the mob had left in the city jail the night before. And under heavy guard, the 6 prisoners who had come down from Virginia by train during the early morning were likewise sequestered in the county jail. General Rhino, taking no chances, stationed 19 guardsmen in the cells with the 13 blacks, and Major Beecher issued a statement to the local press. No one will get any more Negroes until the last soldier has been killed and many of the riders. I have given orders to shoot to kill. Too motherfucking late now, ain't it? Now they finna go all out like they really finna do something for black folks, huh? Yeah, let's see if any motherfuckers finna be arrested. The large banner headline in the morning, News Tribune blared, Duluth mob hang Negroes. And beneath it ran reporter A.I. Carson's copious and thorough account of about 7,500 words. Carson, who was downtown as the mob was forming, remained at the scene throughout the night, rushing between the lynch site and the jail, where questioning of blacks continued during the hangings. Carson was apparently given cooperation by many in the mob and consequently managed to compile the data on the tragedy under the most difficult of circumstances, with only a few minor errors. Official Duluth reaction was predictably sober. Mayor Magny, M-A-G-N-E-Y, deplored the stain on the city, and Sheriff Maggie was inundated with requests from men wishing to be deputized. The American Legion, smarting because several of its members were apparently involved in the crimes, offered 2,000 men to be deployed under Ed McDevitt's command to maintain order on the streets while the police department regrouped. St. Louis County Attorney William E. Green stated that those connected with the lynchings would be firmly prosecuted. The original crime was one of the most atrocious ever committed in this county, Green told the Tribune. But neither this nor any other crime justifies the resorting to mob law. But the lynchings and the alleged precipitating crime would prove fitful and distressing for Green. A strikingly handsome man of 45 with blonde wavy hair and an aquiline nose, Green had been county attorney for 7 years. He was considered to be a man ready for wider political accomplishments. During the April primary election, he finished a strong third behind judges Kent and Felsler for a seat on the district bench, outpolling Mayor Magny by nearly 2,000 votes. 3 judges would be elected to serve. and Green appeared to have the inside track for that third position. His looks could be counted on to get votes from the newly franchised women, but beyond this, he had maintained a proud record as county attorney. He was duty-bound to prosecute lynchers and rioters whose actions probably had received at least tacit approval from most of the county's residents. True, there would be cases brought against the blacks for the assault, but they would be convicted. But that they would be convicted was almost a foregone conclusion. Going after rioters and murderers would prove sticky. Arrests would doubtless be made, but would convictions logically follow? And would vigorous prosecution hurt Green's future ambition? J.A.O. Prius, P-R-E-U-S-S. J.A.O. Prius, P-R-E-U-S-S. The Republican candidate for governor in place of Burnquist, who had decided to retire, had scheduled June 16th as a day for campaigning in Duluth. During his speech, he utilized the occasion to state that he favored strict law for assaults on women. If I am elected governor, I will do all in my power to increase the penalty, he said. I will sign any bill the legislature will pass along this line, and I'm in favor of making the penalty as severe as possible. Letting them know that if they choose him, he ready to let them hang. He ready to let them hang whoever they want to. That's basically what his ass saying. As the day progressed, thousands visited the station and the lynch site, but the curious were cautious and kept their distance. They spoke in hushed voices under the scrutiny of troops and special deputies. Stories circulated throughout the town and appeared in city newspapers praising Lieutenant Barber for his role in attempting to prevent lynchings and also commending the order not to use firearms, which the press assumed came from Barber. Barber also won the respect of the Duluth blacks, who felt he had at least tried to see justice prevail. Public reaction to Barber's role at first seemed favorable, and those reactions displeased Murnian. He called in a reporter and hotly denounced the stories generated by the paper, stressing that he should have been given credit for the order not to shoot. I gave strict orders to all men to use firearms under no consideration, and I believe this had a great deal to do with the lack of serious injuries, he stated for publication. But criticism of police handling of the affair and of Murnian mounted during the next 24 hours, and the commissioner was forced to issue yet another statement to the press. The force was not large enough to handle such a situation, and by the time we could get all the available police in the city and the sheriff's force assembled, the crowd had gone beyond the control of any force many times larger than at our disposal. Despite criticism, I still believe I was right in ordering police not to shoot, for if they had shot into the crowd and killed one woman or child, the criticism and condemnation of the department would have been more severe. We almost done, y'all. We gonna finish right there. If the lynchings left Duluth stunned, no less shocked was the neighboring city of Superior, Wisconsin, where the knee-jerk reaction of acting police chief Louis Osborne drew praise. We're going to run all idle Negroes out of Superior, and they're going to stay out, Osborne said. Larry Boyd, manager of a carnival in Superior, dismissed all black employees, stating, I shall never hire another one, even though I have never as yet had any trouble with them. The decisions of both men triggered another brief panic in Duluth. Most blacks forced out of Superior left on foot, and nervous Duluth whites flooded Maggie's office with calls reporting hundreds of black people coming from Superior to join up with Duluth blacks to kill white people. I don't know why we even want. I'm done. We done. Stop having babies with white folks. Have black babies. Get your mind right, black people. Get your black Bible so you can get your mind right. Because white folks ain't right. White folks, they not right. They still not. They still can't be trusted. I don't give a damn. You ain't got to cut the heads off the garden snakes. But leave them where they supposed to be at. Get your ass out of the field. That's fucked up. Let's read that one more time. Most blacks forced out of Superior left on foot. Left on foot. In shock. Traumatized, probably wondering, confused, scared, nervous. They left on foot. And nervous Duluth white folks flooded Maggie's office with calls reporting hundreds of blacks coming from Superior to join up with Duluth blacks to kill the whites. Duluth police again put on alert, did stop several blacks ignorant of the lynchings the night before, trying to find sanctuary in Duluth. Black people didn't even know. The black people in Superior didn't even know that Isaac and Elijah had been lynched. All they knew, they had to leave Superior. That's all they knew. They had to leave Superior. Now, get out. That's why they left on foot. As anger and criticism of police seemed to be overwhelming early police support, the department issued statements from time to time, assuring citizens that the lynched men had all been implicated by other witnesses, and in fact, no innocent men had died. Some lying motherfuckers. Duluth blacks, frustrated, frightened, and isolated, felt total despair. There was no NAACP to calm their fears or to give needed moral support during the crisis. Black children were mostly kept indoors by parents, and those youngsters who did get out to play were subjected to name calling and abuse previously unknown to them in their city. See, y'all white folk, they were just waiting. You were just waiting. That whole year. Oh, yes, we're going to have to do something. And then, I don't know. Irene ass lied. And that was it. That was your excuse. I still don't forgive the shit. I still don't. I'm one that do not forgive it. Franklin Cox, the only black of school age in the fashionable Lester Park neighborhood of Duluth, was 12 years old then, and he regarded himself as tough and able to handle most encounters. But for weeks after the lynchings, he feared going out of the house, especially after dark. Gangs of bigger white boys constantly taunted him and picked fights with him. Cox, however, became toughened by the hassles and engaged white youth in the intimacy of fists, eventually gaining a grudging respect because he would beat their motherfucking ass. But years would pass before he could ever again feel moderately at ease in the presence of whites. Until we made us. Yeah, we the ones did that shit. Made us think that they okay now. They safe now. You can trust them now. Like ain't nothing still happening. We ain't got no song. No, you keep a song in your heart. You already know. You keep a song in your heart and you keep your gratitude. You can get some rest. Process this. Wherever you at, whatever state you at and stuff. What's happened in your state? All over. This is what's going to heal us. Right here. As hard as it is to believe it, this is what's going to heal black people. This is what's going to show us what we need to know. Because we don't know. We do not know. And it's time. It is time. Fuck the dumb shit. If your ass ain't got the testicular fortitude, then you need to go over there with sister. And you sit around Karen and Sabrina and Ken and Brad where you can be comfortable. And you ain't got to worry about nothing. You ain't got to worry that, oh, yeah, what you talking about now? No, you set your ass over there where you can feel safe. Because you can't talk to black people. You can't even face black people and let black people know what they need to know because your ass scared of white folks. You're scared of white folks. And I thought you said your Bible gave you so much faith, so much hope. You said that God didn't give you no spirit of fear. That's what you've been learning, black people. Ain't that what you love? God didn't give you no spirit of fear, but you're so goddamn scared to speak up for your people, to talk to your children. You don't be a fool and a dummy. I'm just saying don't be no fool and a dummy. Good night, y'all. Good night.